What's up, everybody? Your boy Pat back again with another edition of Second Take, where I talk tech and I speak sports. Today's topic of the day is why I will not be purchasing a Galaxy Note 8. Now, for everybody who knows me, I've been a Galaxy user, purchaser since the Galaxy S1. Had the 2, had the 3, skipped out on the 4 and the 5, and skipped out on the 6. Actually went from an S3 to a Note 4 to a Note 7, and then because of the issues with the Note, went back to an S7. Well, not back, but backwards, in my opinion, to an S7 Edge. And now I'm looking to get out of the S line and go back into the Note line. But for me, the Galaxy series, the S series, has always been the standard of the Galaxy line, or their model, their flagship has been the S line. And then the Note line has been for that crowd that wanted a bigger screen. They wanted to be able to do more. It used to be called a phablet. They don't quite call them phablets anymore. And it always was a phone that had additional features that the S line never had. S line would have a smaller screen, Note would have a bigger screen. S line would have no S Pen, Note would have an S Pen. S line would have a smaller hard drive, Note would have a bigger hard drive. It went on and on and on as far as features. And more recently, the Note 7 had the iris scanner. Obviously, that's made its way into the S8. The Note 7 also had blue light filter. Obviously, that's even made it all the way down to my phone, the S7. Had a GIF maker. So it always had a lot of hardware and software features that were different from the S line. But more recently, I would like to say that the S8, my wife has that phone, and the S8, the only thing it's different from it to me that the Note's gonna have is an S Pen. Yeah, I know the camera's gonna be a dual camera. I get it. That will be different too. But the S Pen has always been different from every other phone. No phone manufacturer, whether Apple, LG, Sony, LG, Ericsson, Huawei, all of these, I mean, they've all attempted, well, not all, but most or some have attempted to actually mimic the S Pen, and they've all failed. So the S Pen has always stood as the standard or the difference maker in getting a Note versus the S or any other phone for that matter. With that said, the only thing that I'm really excited about is the dual camera on the Note 8. But other than that, I don't think it's worth a purchase, with that being the only difference in my eyes between the Note and the S series, or the Galaxy S series. So with that said, I don't know if I'm going to purchase it, man. I was really anticipating it and so excited about the fact that this phone was going to have a fingerprint scanner embedded under the screen. And I really thought, I was telling everybody, I thought that was going to be the thing that made people say, well, you know what, I had a Note 7 and they had battery issues where they caught on fire and all this. But man, the cool factor of having a fingerprint scanner embedded under a screen, I think would have won basically every phone enthusiast back easily. Now, I'm not saying everybody's not going to buy a Note from going to 7 to an 8. I was going to do it. But to be honest, there's not enough new stuff or enough things to separate it from the S line. The S8 literally has a big screen, has the same resolution. Yeah, the Note's going to supposedly go from 4 gigs of RAM to 6 gigs of RAM. I get it. But that's not really enough. I don't think to sway my decision to get a Note. Yeah, the S Pen. I'm going to really miss the S Pen. I've missed it for the last year. But I've managed. So for me, the Note series, they need to do a better job in differentiating the two between the S line and the Note line. And I think the best way that they can do that is, as opposed to releasing, an S and a Note every year, release the S in, odd years this year, and then release the Note in even years. And then this way you have a flagship phone coming out every year. Yeah, you won't rule the back half of the year. I get it. And I get you want to be hey, the iPhone in off years, they like to come out with their S variant of the iPhone. I get it. But my point is, essentially the S line of the iPhone is the same phone. I mean, if you really ask me, I think the iPhone's changed about 3 times in its whole life cycle, and they've had like 10 phones, but literally they've released the same phones over and over and over. They basically have the same hardware and don't really do anything different than the previous model did. But that's the sidebar. The other thing that would help the Note series is it doesn't sell as well as the S line. One, I mean, yeah, the S line's always been a smaller phone, better. Females can, hold it in their hand a little more easier than a Note. But being that the phone's gotten so big, yeah, I know it's not as hard to hold in the hand. My wife has one, and it's just a little taller, but it's gotten so much easier to hold in the hand. It's actually less wide than the S7 that I have today, which is, I thought this was a pretty cool phone to hold. But holding that phone, it really makes you feel like you're holding a phone from 2008 or 2009. They're so slim, but the screens are huge because there's a 85 plus screen to body ratio on these phones. But anyway, with that said, the Note series also every year releases about the same time an iPhone comes out or an iPhone S comes out. So they're always, being in a very competitive market as far as trying to compete with a flagship iPhone, when the Note really isn't that much of a flagship. Well, I wouldn't say that much, but isn't the flagship, even though in my mind it should be because it has more features, but it's not the most popular phone in the Galaxy series. So with that said, I think if you started to stagger these releases and just came out with one phone per year, 1 year's an S year, 1 year's a Note year, I think Samsung would be better off. But right now, the two phones are too similar for my preference, and I really don't understand why I would get a Note. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna get an S Pen, I'm gonna get a dual camera, but the phone's gonna be basically the same as the S. I mean, it really is coming down to just cannibalization of your competing against yourself in respect. The differences are becoming more and more minor, and I think Galaxy, Samsung be better off just staggering the phone releases, odds and evens, and going from there. I think it would help their sales. I think it would help people get excited. You'd have a chance to upgrade the tech. You won't have the same processors anymore in place. It'll be a different upgraded processor. And you can really start to do some different things, and I think it would help their sales because they wouldn't be forced to come out with a phone every year that literally just has, you're coming out with an S that maybe has minor upgrades from the previous S, and then the same thing for the Note. And now when you look at the two new phones side by side, they're even more similar than ever. And I think you kind of get into a little bit of a pickle. Word of the day, pickle, where it doesn't make sense to me, because right now I'm gonna pass on the Note, I think, and I'm gonna wait for next year. I might get an S, I don't know. It's gonna be a 6-point-something inch screen anyway. It feels good in the hands, man, to have a giant screen in such a small frame. And then hopefully the S series next year gets into a 21:9 aspect ratio. I really don't like this 18.5 to 9 aspect ratio, how it cuts things off. Just go 21:9, go widescreen, man. That'll be so cool. But for now, man, I'm gonna pass on the Note 8, man. I never thought I would say that, and it's not even because of the battery issues. It's just because right now I could literally go and get a Note for like $500. A Note 8. That's how much my wife bought it for, like $4 and change. So it's a brand new phone. It's only been out a couple months, and she literally got it for damn near half price. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Are you getting a Note 8? Why? Why are you getting a Note 8? Are you not getting a Note 8? Why are you not getting a Note 8? I want to hear your thoughts, your comments. Like, subscribe to this video, to this channel. Appreciate you guys. It's your boy Pat. Peace. Catch you in the next one.